in a box. And we're live! Welcome to the Crafty Boys, where we drink beer and talk about stuff because we have known each other for 5,000 years, and that's just what you do with people you've known that long. Welcome! We're all here this week. We were off last week because I was not feeling well, and I was sneezing like a bastard, and my sinuses were just vacuating themselves in all kinds of ways. So I assume I either had COVID, or probably not. It was actually, I ran into something I was allergic to, which happens from time to time.
Huh.
So there we go. Because otherwise, after that day of doing that, I was fine. So who knows?
Wow.
Who knows?
Cool.
Welcome. But this week we are going to do other stuff. So here we are.
Here we are.
How are you, you wonderful menu?
It's been good.
Or how about up yours, all three of you?
There's always that as well.
But yeah, no. How are things? What have you guys been doing for the last couple of weeks? What's going on?
Working.
First of all, let me say happy Lunar New Year and
Yes,
the Water Tiger.
Yes.
That's
what I was reading.
The what?
Shane, I think you're an ox, are you not?
I am an ox. Yes.
I'm
This
a
year's-
rat.
Alan's a rat.
That explains a lot.
Dave?
BDI.
I'm a pig.
Well, there you go.
Well, we know that.
Lol.
I actually did some for shits and giggles reading, and this year is not supposed to be super awesome for me.
Oh.
Not a shit year, but what did it say? Something like
I think
challenging
every year these days has been kind of a
What?
bad year for everybody.
for anybody. Yeah.
For everybody.
It has definitely been a year where everyone can equally agree upon like how just crappy it is. Yeah, yeah.
Although
I've been hearing though.
glad I don't live in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Been hearing things are supposed to be loosening up across the country a bit, though. I was hearing that they're talking about getting rid of a bunch of restrictions. Basically,
Well, the restrictions are set provincially, so it's up to each individual province what they want to do, which doesn't make sense why they're in Ottawa then. But whatever. Hey, you guys want to drink something?
Yes.
That is, I'm like I've basically beaten you to the punch there.
Yeah.
Describe what I'm drinking.
Yes. Let's have you tell us in great detail, with all kinds of gusto, what you're drinking tonight.
The Bronin.
Bronin, what is the best beer in life?
Vermont IPA by High Road Brewing Company. High Road Brewing Company are apparently
A company that takes the high road.
somewhere in Ontario.
Sorry, did you say it's a Vermont IPA? Look,
Yeah, it that's how they describe it. And it's named Bronin, which I take to be a word made up of bro and Conan. So it's like Conan the Barbarian for bros. Yeah? And it has...
isn't he by definition
Sorry?
bros? Isn't Conan just by definition for bros? Like,
No.
no?
Conan is not necessarily for bros, but is compatible with bros.
Okay.
And then it's got 70 international beer units and 7.1% alcohol per volume. And that is really the only information I've been able to find on this tin. Other than that, it's yellow and
Sorry, that was awesome. On this tin. There's this thing called the internet that we don't care about. We only rely on what's on the tin.
Well,
That's awesome.
so anyway, so how does it taste? Well, now, speaking of the internet, actually, one of the reasons I did pick it up was because somebody on some beer site scored it really, really high, like, 94% of, goodness. So
Probably the brewmaster.
It's so anyway, the taste of it is kind of good, actually. It's like, a bit like, sort of your hazy IPA, but I would say it's got a little bit more of a pine kind of note than the fruit punch that I'm used to from Eastern IPAs lately. And it's got some complexity, some more sweetness than I'm really up for, truthfully, but still the complexity makes it overall, an excellent beer.
Cool.
And that's what I know about that.
Very good, very good. Alan, what beer are you... sorry, not Alan. Sorry, I can't spoil the trick here, the surprise. Who are you? What's your name? Dave! See, I had a stroke partway through that previous sentence. Dave, what are you drinking today?
I am doing one of these Fenty Man's things.
Oh,
Okay,
ooh.
Fenty Man's Cherry Cola this
Cherry
time?
again. Being a sucker for the cherry flavor, hey, what else am I supposed to do? And
So have you had that particular one before?
I don't think so. At least I'm hoping not, because I'm trying to do different stuff on the show, right? So
Mhm.
I don't think I've done this one. I've done one or two of theirs before, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's this one. I just find these guys so interesting. Botanically brewed, traditional cherry cola. It's really, there's not a hell of a lot on here, but ingredients wise, okay. Water. Hey, there's a surprise. Fermented ginger.
Oh,
That is kind of surprising. What else we got here? Pear juice. Huh? Yeast.
Pear juice in a cherry drink? I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oat caramel color. That's not so great. Flavors cherry juice concentrate. Sure. Caffeine. What would the caffeine be from? That's
That's from all the MSG.
that would be the cola.
Well, sorry, Locke, the cola nut.
I would think so. Would that not contain caffeine? Is that not why people
Makes sense to me, but you know what? I'm not
they
seeing.
started making Coca-Cola? The idea was the cola nut and the cocaine leaf was sort of the magical ingredient. But
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, hey, Coke was considered very magical when it was first discovered. Yeah, but I honestly don't see any cola nut stuff here. So whatever they get their caffeine out of, they don't tell you. But it is tasty. I'm liking it.
Good.
It's not it's not cherry Coke, which is honestly I'm almost ashamed to say this, but that's kind of my favorite cherry actually, is cherry Coke.
Really?
Even though it's
Oh,
frickin' hard to
I
find.
know why. It's so close to Dr. Pepper.
No, it's not.
No?
It's seriously
Yes, it
not.
Yes,
No,
it is.
they are completely different flavors. You're clearly not a connoisseur, Alan.
I'm not a connoisseur, obviously, but I always thought that Dr. Pepper was just basically cherry Coke with a different.
I thought Dr. Pepper was really just an advertisement for Cannonball Run. They marketed the beverage so to help sell the movie. Right? Isn't that what happened?
I have a vague
I don't remember that at all. But you know what?
No.
My memory is probably failing in my old age here. So
I wouldn't mind seeing Cannonball Run again.
I know I haven't seen that in decades.
Oh,
Probably-
I'm sure it's aged
probably hasn't
very
aged
well.
You think so?
I think millennials are very fond of the way it plays up certain types of humor and whatnot.
They would have to watch it on the original VHS.
That A, Greta would approve, and B, that there's nothing in there that would get anybody canceled. I'm sure that's the case. I don't think anybody drinks and drives in that movie.
I don't know. Doesn't it play on some Japanese stereotypes? Just for starting.
And Arabic,
possibly, yeah.
And Arabic stereotypes.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, that's for Jamie Farr
Jamie
as
Farr.
Yep.
He played like a sheik or something, or
yeah, he was the entire point of the second film, because it was basically, for what I remember, he was the he wanted, because he didn't win, he wanted to have it again, so he sponsored like a cannonball the following year.
Yes,
or something. There was that was something like that.
I think that's how that worked. Yeah.
I wonder if the Millennium Falcon could do the cannonball run in less than 12 parsecs.
Oh, probably.
Wow.
I think easily,
Yes, Julian, a young Farrah Fawcett. You are correct.
Mm.
Yeah, a young Farrah
right.
Fawcett, along with the who else was it in? I'm trying to think, who's the wasn't it Jack? What the heck am I just playing? Wasn't it like Jacqueline Smith? Was she the other?
It might have been. And were they driving like a Lamborghini or something?
Oh yes, there was a Lambo, a very
If you actually, it's funny you say that, because Julian was of course was over. We were watching some clips from Cannonball Run, and the one that I watched all the way through, it was like 4 or 5 minutes long. It was the race at the very beginning, where the police are like chasing them and stuff like that. So, but yeah.
So, did you think that those clips aged well, Shane?
Well, in that particular piece of that film, there's really nothing that I would consider to be offensive, because there isn't any dialogue. It's just like, the police are not catching up to the Lamborghini, which I gather the Lamborghini actually sold not too long ago. It's still around. It was sold for like $1 billion because of its fame. Mm-hmm. But before we talk more about that, Alan, our beer is getting warm. The beer that Alan and I are drinking today, I'm going to bring Alan up here, is the Quantum from category 12.
Oh, that's
and it box. Is a Persian, not Persian. Oh my lord. A Russian Imperial Coffee Stout. Now on the label it says, "We've harnessed a world of flavor within the confines of this bottle. 1 year in the making, the natural richness of our Russian Imperial Stout has leveled up after resting within white oak barrels with freshly roasted level ground espresso coffee beans," I guess that's a brand, "to create a sensory experience that is just right. The Quantum Satis? Yeah, okay. The amount, which is enough, but not more." I don't know what that really means, because forget you, category 12. But basically, this is a Barrel Holder Series 2021 vintage on the bottle. And I'm now pouring.
I'm going to use my Millennium Falcon opener.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a Star Wars thing I want to talk about after.
All right,
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, do that. Do that.
I think it's time. We're long overdue for Star Wars discussion.
Yeah, Star Wars thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm doing my pour. Oh, this is like motor oil.
It is very much like motor oil.
Like you could. It
this
needs to have,
is-
it needs to have a viscosity reading
A
on
viscosity
on the
rating?
label.
It is quite.
Holy!
I haven't actually done the smell test yet. Oh my god!
Do a smell.
Here we go.
He's got to take off his glasses. to smell.
Oh my lordy! Okay.
Wow. That is a
Um,
strong smelling beer.
That is more than.
You can definitely smell the
All
coffee.
right, I'm drinking. Here we go.
the happiness is taking hold of Alan's face, and it's
Oh
expressing.
my god!
Not so sure about Shane though. He's got questions.
No, I like it. They have found a balance in the Force that allows me to taste this beer and be very happy with it.
Wait a second. Last time they found a balance in the Force, it was like bad news all over the place.
That is true. There were
But this
there,
is really
there were
good.
problems with the hiring practice of that.
They didn't vet their applicants.
They didn't need to vet their applicants in this particular.
But
What are you
this,
doing?
I mean, the flavors are bold. I mean, they're in your face. You can taste the coffee, but it's not overpowering. And the barrel aging has made such a difference here. I mean, I can't even put it into words. This is fantastic.
Like, I must say, category 12 have impressed me a number of times in the past. I don't get it out here, which is upsetting to me. But you know, like, it's they're a brewery that have done a few interesting things over the years. One of their Brett concoctions, I remember in particular being absolutely mind blowing. But so the barrel aging has that given it a sort of a vanilla kind of a taste, or is it more of an oaky thing?
It's
Or
more of an oaky, I would say.
Yeah.
An oaky kind of flavor to it, yeah, because it's yeah, it is
Well,
definitely
what they've done is
a-
they've invested in I'm not too sure how you pronounce it, but a feeder, or is it a foeder?
Ah, yes, that's. I don't know how you pronounce that word. You know who does. You know who I imagine does is Julian. Julian, how do you pronounce that word?
Okay, so it's spelled Foeder. We'll wait for Julian to respond. But they invested in one of these things. So what they did is they got people from the community to put in, I don't know how much into it. There was different levels. And depending on what you put in, so fodder, you would get a certain number of beers back from the program with your donation or
Right.
purchase or investment or whatever. And that's what this beer is from. Now they released two other barrel holder series beers at the same time. So I had a choice of three. I went with this one. One of them was a wheat wine. I'm not sure what the other one was. I don't remember.
Well, this particular one has a it's 10.5%. This beer is also vegan.
No meat
but
in the beer. That's awesome.
There's no.
There's
meat
so
in
many
this
beer. There's so many times I've opened up a beer and I found a big hunk of pork in You know,
I know.
There is actually, I mean, it would be interesting to do a meat flavored beer. I think there's maybe an opportunity there somewhere. Where exactly, I couldn't tell you, but
But we've done bacon flavored.
Well,
beers.
there's
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So
that.
hang on. Okay, so
bacon flavored beers. Yeah.
so the quantum. So this particular beer line, it looks like there's 4 different beers in this particular one. The one that we're having right now is the Coffee Imperial Stout, the Coffee Quantum. There's also a Bourbon Vanilla Imperial Stout, which is a Bourbon Vanilla Quantum. The Barrel Aged Imperial Stout Quantum, which I guess there's no coffee and no bourbon or vanilla. And then they have another one called the Wheat Wine, which is called Continuum.
Ooh, they do a wheat wine?
Yeah.
Now I'm really I might fly out to the West Coast just to have that.
You just get to the airport, get a cab directly to Category 12. I want all these, and then you leave. You get right back to the airport. But yeah, the Continuum is the wheat wine, and it's 11.7% alcohol. It's the 7th anniversary, apparently, of this particular one.
7%.
I almost got that one. It was between that one and this one, and
yeah,
I don't know. This one looked kind of cooler. So
yeah. Now, do you think there's going to be trouble with do you think there's going to be trouble with people brewing Russian imperial stouts if the U.S. goes to war with them? There is something kind of messed up about the fact that I have spent most of my life watching in anxiety and mesmerized by the opportunity for us all to die suddenly with nuclear war. The specter of war between the U.S. and
everybody else.
Soviet Union today. I mean, before we were fighting the Russians because they were communist, we were fighting them because they were Russian. So not much has really changed. But did you not notice that the U.S. has actually sent troops?
The U.S. has sent troops. They've sent weapons to the Ukraine. They've sent weapons to the Baltic states, essentially. Because they don't think. I think the wisdom here is that they're not. The Ukraine is only one step, and there are other republics that have split off from the original. But I actually watched a really interesting newspaper author, writer guy. What are they called? Journalist, who actually did a video just a newspaper writer guy. You know those ones. You know those dudes.
You mean like existed before the interweb?
Apparently before the interweb. What's in this again? So anyway, but yeah, so he did this video just recently about why is Russia doing this? And he basically sums it up as, and he goes into a lot of detail. I will find the link for it if you're so interested. But about how basically it's Putin since forever views Russia as it was, prior to 1990, and that all of these other sort of separated republics are children of the Soviet Union and must return, kind of thing. So that's basically what his attitude is and why he does this. And apparently there's actually an article that Putin wrote sometime in the last 5 years that goes on for 15 pages about his love for the Soviet Union and how he's a patriot, and apparently it's really well written and well argued.
Yeah, I've read it. As a piece of persuasive history writing, he's more subtle than I can credit any U.S. president except maybe Obama.
Well, yeah, it seems that, but overall, basically all this is just him, wanting
to turn back the clock.
Sorry, what did you say? I
He
heard
said turn
cock.
back. He said turn back the clock.
Oh, turn back the clock. Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that he really wants
no,
to
no,
have...
no. Shane heard turn back the lock. He was worried that he was trying to
Turn back the lock!
Turn back the lock because the lock's coming for you. Ooh, I'm coming for you.
Look out, Germany! The wall's coming back.
I mean, I mean, I guess from that perspective, I understand what he's trying to do. Is he
well, look,
insane for doing it? Of course. He has to hold on to power because he doesn't actually have the power. It's all of his funders that have really, all the oligarchs and all that kind of stuff.
What's sort of messed up. Here's what's sort of messed up is the extent to which even Putin is pointing the finger at people and saying, you're a Nazi. Now, there actually is something to that. The Ukrainians developed their own Einsatzgruppen during the Second World War and were actually out doing ethnic cleansings. So it's not like there's nothing to it. But really, like, who isn't getting called a Nazi nowadays?
That's true. I mean, basically, it's a term that gets thrown around way too much, in my opinion, to refer to people as Nazis, because to me, it really what's the word I'm looking for? It really dilutes. It dilutes what exactly trivializes the fact of what the Third Reich was about, and it's unfortunate because it's like we have a generation of people. I mean, obviously, we're part of that generation that didn't live through World War II. We came much, our parents essentially were all boomers. So, they were the kids, the first wave of children post-war. And there's now been enough time, like enough distance that people really don't understand what actually occurred. And there's actually, just on the news last night, there was a thing talking about how China is, forcing people into lockdowns and isolation, all that kind of stuff, because you were within 6 kilometers of some of the people that had COVID, so you're staying home for 2 weeks, and there's no questions. There's no, hey, I have freedoms. Like, no, get in your home, or you're going to jail. You have a choice. You can stay home and hang out, or you can go straight to jail and stay there for, I don't know, however long we want to put you there. And then we have these truckers, I'm going to broad brush this whole trucker thing in Canada right now. But, from what I've seen so far, it seems to be a lot of sort of anti-vax sentiments and all that kind of stuff.
Thing. Calling them truckers, I think the problem is there are plenty of truckers who aren't anti-vaxxers.
Well, exactly, and it's apparently it's like what, the 90% or something of the truckers that are part of the whole union are actually vaccinated, and these are like the minority that seem to be really loud. Well, again, it seems to be the voices of the few being able to use a different megaphone tactics, and they're being pushed along by that too. And so there's just really no connection to reality in a lot of ways, in my opinion. But overall, I would like to say that unfortunately, I have to say that they're all crazy and really need to get vaccinated and shut the fuck up. Because in comparison to what's going on in China right now, what are we complaining about? Sure, if you don't want to get vaccinated, don't do it. Just go, but don't think you're under some sort of tyrannical oppression, which you sure as fuck aren't in this country.
If there was no freedom in this country, you wouldn't be allowed to have a freedom convoy.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, right? Is that we would have, all kinds of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Gulags in the north somewhere, like in Nunavut or Baffin Island. We'd be sending people there constantly, and then we'd have a real problem.
Yeah, we don't.
But we don't.
Baffin Island. We send them to Fort Mac.
There goes our entire audience in Fort Mac.
All right. So I wanted to talk about something.
Okay,
So,
hang on.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. So this week, apparently, is the anniversary of the release of the Star Wars Special Edition. Came out in 1997. That means
Really, I had no idea.
25 years old. And that got me to thinking. It was released around the 20th.
Hey, get out of here! Get out of here! Get off me! There we go.
It was released around the time that the
I saw you there.
Anniversary.
Damn,
of
Putin coming in. Jesus. Sorry, Putin. Get out of here! Sorry, I don't know what's happening here. The Putin's just kind of getting in there.
It's Russian hackers.
Russian hackers.
Yeah.
Russian. Okay. Okay. Sorry, he was kind of. Hey! God, I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on here.
What I'm getting at is that the Star Wars Special Edition has been around for longer than the original cuts.
Huh.
And I was actually talking to somebody, a younger person recently, who had seen Star Wars several times, in fact.
Yeah.
And I was like, so how do you feel about the whole Han shoots first thing? And they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, because in the original, Greedo shot or Han just shot, and that was it. And he was like, no, Greedo shoots first. Which is interesting. The special editions to a lot of people are no longer special. It is how it is.
That is canonical Star Wars now. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of that upsetting trend to sanitize the behavior of the most interesting characters and the most complex, most adult characters in Star Wars.
People still watch Star Wars. Yes, I watch Star Wars.
Yeah. No. But Star Wars, when it came out, the genius of it was that it was science fiction that was plausibly aimed not just at children, but also at adults. Today, it's kind of slipped into this Disneyfication of where it's all about the children, until we got The Mandalorian, where I was very, very happy. And then we got the Book of Boba Fett, and I got to cry as I watched one of the coolest characters in those films turn into a fucking wimp. He's all being polite, and he's out to
It's not the Boba Fett that I know. Well,
it's not the Boba Fett that I like.
But let's face it, Boba Fett in the original trilogy was a bit of a chump.
Yeah, well, he died pretty fucking easily, didn't he? Except
he did.
He didn't die and then came back and but he seems to have come back as a fucking nerd, or well, not even a nerd. Nerds are cool. He's like a what is he? He's he's sort of.
It's like he's got honor.
Yeah, which I like the fact that he was sort of like callous and just in it for the money, you know what I mean? Like that was the guy that I was kind of into. I thought
he was hunting bounties,
and he wasn't really, he wasn't good, he wasn't evil, he was just callous.
He's a working man.
And apparently he used to do disintegrations, but we've never seen him do one.
No disintegrations. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. That kind of suggests that the implication is that normally he does disintegrations. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I have to ask who has seen
teddy bears. Yeah, fuck God.
Who has seen the episode today?
I have not yet.
Oh, I have not
Son
seen.
of a bitch.
I didn't know there was a today episode, but I saw
it dropped today. Yeah,
where the Mandalorian came back, and frankly, the Mandalorian has turned out, wearing more or less the same armor, to be much more badass than Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett, which is surprising to me. But at least there's somebody still being badass. Although
I think it'll
badass
change
in a way that looks much more religious than I'm really normally up for.
What do you mean? Like,
Well, he's all like he's got all these fussy sort of superstitions about whether or not you can take your helmet off, and the fact that he did once means now he's what cast out because you took off your hat. Like what is that nonsense?
This is the way.
Well, yeah, I mean the way of what? Scabby faces,
The way of the Mandalorian.
bad stale sweat smells for your like what?
well, yeah. I mean, here's the. God damn it! You guys haven't seen today's episode. It's so good.
Does it deal with some of these difficult questions?
It deals with the fact that we actually get to go and see stuff that is awesome, and I can't even.
Well, that
mention
okay.
it'll
That
just
I'm up
completely-
for. I like it when I get to see.
It's gonna spoil. I can't even mention what it is. It'll just
And the
spoil.
simple fact of the matter
well,
is, the Star Wars
so-
universe is too pretty, too beautiful, too awesome for me not to want to watch it, even if the people running around in it are acting like,
I've said this before,
Millennium.
and I'll say it again. If they made a 2.5 hour movie that was just Yoda taking a dump, I would pay $30 to see that.
oh Lord, you think about how long that guy has been alive. When he takes a crap, my God. I mean, how just supposing that his digestive tract works at the same pace, that's got to be one like dense, like super dense, like butt nugget. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be. I mean.
Okay, so we have a comment here from FRM LSAT2 Fissert, and he says that he doesn't know a lot about Star Wars. He's seen a few movies and shows, but didn't get super into it. What did you get into?
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of what's going on in the post George Lucas world, in terms of the whole Star Wars universe, was that the I'm going to ban him. Goodbye, Julian. But essentially, yeah, no, the Star Wars was on track to entertain the fans, and then eventually it became a problem because we had somebody else took the helm, and they wanted to be able to milk it for money, and they have, but they oversaturated what was going on. We wanted a nice steady stream of decent Star Wars stories that were happening, but what we got was like a fire hose of get shit out the door. And even the people that wrote the garbage that we got after 2015 were saying, yeah, this is kind of garbage, unfortunately. We don't quite know.
I'll be honest with you. I would have liked the Han Solo movie if they'd just done the decent thing and got an actor that has a deep voice.
Yeah, it could have. That definitely could have helped. Yeah, the Disney syndrome. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Where, however, what is actually saving them, I think, are these TV programs. Like today's episode,
totally.
There was a bombing. There was stuff that a lot of nerds want to touch themselves over while watching. They had all of these things. All of the characters from the Mandalorian, the big popular ones from the comics, from the cartoons, all show up. Like there's a lot of stuff that there's only one more episode after this week, and I think it's going to be either a really big one or it's going to end off on like a cliffhanger of what's going to happen next kind of thing. But yeah, like they're able, I think, to the people that are running these shows are able to actually pause long enough to kind of go, okay, well, what are we going to do that's not going to suck? What are we actually going to do when we actually tell a new story? Sure, there are characters in it that have been around forever, but how do we tell a story that actually is interesting rather than just throwing a script out the door and saying, "Shoot it." I mean, Lucas even had the same problem.
Novelizations.
Sorry, say that again.
How much of the content have they drawn from the novelizations? Because I'll be honest with you, I've never read even one of them. Although I have. Okay, Dick, I would mention that.
There's mention of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who was from the novels,
but not in the same context from the.
No, I hear that he's somewhat different because they changed him in the animated show, but he originally was from the novels. A character called Ahsoka Tano, the one dual wielding lightsabers, she is from the animated shows. What else? There's something else. Another character that I can't think of that I had on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, a lot of these sort of background characters came in and have done some have started doing interesting things. But at the very end of the episode today, they bring in a big, massive character that I can't mention the name of, you bastards, because you haven't seen it. But it's a character that, if you've watched the animated show, the of those 3 shows, this character is there all the time and is like a major villain. So go watch it and then we can talk about it.
Oh.
See, I have not watched one of the animated shows. Yeah.
Mr. Blueface.
Yeah, he shows up and like whacks a whole bunch of characters. So yeah, you have to, and it's also voiced by the same guy. So oh yeah, so it's actually it's like he stepped off the animated cell and became a real thing. Anyway, but overall, I would say that I'm hoping we're getting past the let's tweak the nipples of the people that are our fan base. And let's actually tell them a new story. Because, I mean, that was the nice thing about some novels. Not all the novels, because some of them are just terrible. But there's a bunch of novels that I've enjoyed that I thought this would actually make a really decent canon story. I would like to see this character do this thing. I thought that actually with the Indiana Jones novels. There's like 6 or 7 of them that came out in the early 90s, late 80s. That are actually quite good. I enjoyed them. I burned through them. I thought they were really well told. Yes, we have Mark Hamill in our midst. Thank you, Mark, for showing up. I'd like to bring you up there to show you off.
Glad to be here.
But it's
can you give us your best like imagine Darth Vader's just told you that he's your father and then you no! Go on.
no,
not true. How's that?
But I mean, this is all to say that as much as I love Star Wars, I'm really open to some new science fiction, some new fantasy that's able to grab onto you the same way. And I think that
BattleTech.
I would say that actually, BattleTech is a contender, but aside from lizards coming out of the sea floor and beating on monsters, I mean, unfortunately, the Pacific Rim films, that's all I wanted from them. I knew exactly what they were going in. I wanted to see big, huge monsters get punched in the face by big, huge robots. It's why I like the film Robot Jocks so much.
I know. I rate his stuff. I think it's very, very good. But if you've watched Troll Hunter, the Troll Hunter series, he does kind of plagiarize his own material a bit, doesn't he?
True. The same thing, actually, with the King Kong movies, the monster movies that have come out over the past, say, 4 or 5 years.
The last Kong actually wasn't too bad.
Yeah, the Kong versus... It was actually quite brilliant because there was one thing I picked up on in the fight between Godzilla and King Kong where they did this exchange and then Kong is getting the crap kicked out of him and he falls down and he starts holding onto his arm. And then he gets up eventually and he slams his shoulder into a building and then does like that thing of like, okay, let's do this again. And I thought, that's like that Lethal Weapon film, didn't the
It is,
character
totally.
and I saw like, behind the scenes interviews of some of the people, and the director's like, oh yeah, that's an homage to
That's a
to
rig
Lethal
stuff.
Weapon.
Yeah.
It's we wanted to see, just for some reason it was cool, we just did it. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, you just want to see a large ape beat the crap out of a large lizard and vice versa. You don't necessarily need. I mean, they have all this backstory and all this lore throughout these films, but ultimately, who cares? Eventually, it's like, oh, there's characters talking, okay, and then you want to see this big lizard take a Hail Mary to his nostrils, So, but yeah, exactly. They were kind of solid. They were fun. They were films that were trying to be fun. They've got this whole lore thing behind it that if you're really into it, you can get into as well. But for people that just want to go to a film, and you know what? I feel like a big monster beating the hell out of another one. All right, cool. Will a city get destroyed? It totally will. All right, awesome. Will there be like fire breath and lasers out of people's eyes and other stuff? Yeah, cool. And like, then in that film, Mecha Godzilla shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. This is even cooler. Mecha Godzilla is gonna like eat everyone. All right, cool. And that's the whole point of the silver screen is like FRM LSAT 2 first says popcorn munching fun, and that's exactly what going to a film a lot of the time is. Like, I think a lot of the time we get sucked into that whole cerebral thing of like, did you see that movie that made me feel like I just called you LSAT, yeah, sorry. But basically, you get the whole thing of like, yeah, the Matrix, and then you have like Alice in Wonderland, and like the reality of existence, which for a lot of films is cool. But then you just want to see like, Lassie get Timmy out of the well. And if Lassie shoots a robotic arm out of its side and like picks Timmy out of the way, even better. There's just all these kinds of things.
Lassie got into the same cage as the dogs that got with the thing, and so it just extends its tongue down to pick up the child and pulls it out of the well.
Hey, Jesus! Putin, get the hell out of here, man. Sorry, Putin keeps. I saw you. You're right there. Jeez, he's really in love with Locke right now.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's all of these things that films can do that really make you want to have fun. And right now, would it be a fair statement to say that films right now are needed more than ever? Going to the theater?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Let's pretend all of the movies are as fun as
I know, right? That's hilarious.
Yeah, that. Oh my god, that's a script I want to write. Old Yeller, as if Michael Bay had done it. Oh my lord, that would be.
It's
brilliant.
easy to write the script for a Michael Bay movie. There's no dialogue in it.
It's like very little dialogue and everything blows up.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to remember. It's been a very long time since I've seen Old Yeller. But,
Scene opens, explosions.
Old Yeller is born. The barn he is born in explodes after, I don't know, a robot climbs out of the floor. It's been sitting there in an egg for years. I mean, it's like watching the Eternals. Great idea, not the best execution, but overall I can get behind it. But if you boil the Eternals entirely down, the fact is that you have all these things that, these things are laid, these large eggs are laid in the middle of planets, and then eventually they hatch. So yeah, I like that idea. Again, a Michael Bay kind of turn. Yeah, exactly. Old Yeller to the transform, and then explodes. Exactly. Actually. There was this. Have you ever seen a thing called the Policeman's Ball? It was a comedy thing in the UK, back in the 80s. There was a comic that got on stage and talks about how the reason that James Bond doesn't have any children is that everything he touches explodes. So if he had a child, all the children would explode. You have to have seen it but it was quite amusing to me about having the fact that the reason he has no kids, they just explode or their mothers explode or something. Basically, Michael Bay gets into doing James Bond films, and I think that would be even more incredible than reality. But I don't know. What is a film that we need right now?
Good
BattleTech.
question.
Something new.
Aside from the Michael Bay Old Yeller.
Something new, something that we haven't seen before.
BattleTech.
Yeah.
True.
Yep. Exactly. I think that I'm trying to. What would be?
Well, and even the 70s too, like, you know, oh my god, like On the Buses, Doctor in the House. What was that one? What was the name of that show that took place in a department store? Are You Being Served?
Oh, now I want to watch them all again.
Here's okay. So part of what's going on though is that there's been a shift from the feature film as the sort of the highest end rendition of literary material to being the mini series, which is now sort of where it's at. Like, if somebody was gonna do it the full Nanaimo, they'd do a mini series. They wouldn't do a feature film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been going through True Detective recently.
What I would actually pay for is if do you remember the Heroes in Hell series?
No. What's that?
CJ Chera, Janet Morris, I think a bunch of the people who were involved with the Thieves World. Yeah. A lot of those people were involved, and what it was they set it was sort of like Thieves World in that it was a collaborative platform in which they had a bunch of published, good fantasy authors come together, and sure, they can use each other's characters, that's fine, but now, because we're in hell, you can use anybody from history. Anyone who you can reasonably assign to hell is fair game. And so they've got these crazy stories about, collaborations between, in hell, it turns out that the Duke of Wellington and Napoleon actually get on. They're pretty good friends. And so they team up occasionally with the Romans, mostly led by Julius Caesar, but with outliers like Tiberius throwing curveballs left, right, and center, and all of that kind of thing. That would make a absolutely bonkers, like really, really, really exciting series if they were to do that and it would be a full 6 or 7 season.
Like kind of thing,
12 episodes a season kind of a thing, like you could really run with that. That I would love to see.
Well, it's like this comment here. I think we need more great sci-fi films, not so much Star Wars, Star Trek, etc., but new original sci-fi. And that's exactly the argument I have for things like Star Wars being, they saturated they thought they had a market that I don't think they realized they didn't actually have. They rushed a bunch of films out to have one a year, and if they had all been really amazing scripts, then sure, maybe it would have been pulled off. But the minute you start throwing garbage at the wall, just to see if it actually works, that's when that kind of fails. But the other thing on the other side of that is, like, for established franchises like Star Trek and Star Wars and things, you have this ability to actually make this interesting stuff. And like you were saying, Locke, they're finding success on television now. Like, we're talking like Book of Boba Fett. We're talking about there's going to be another not Punisher. Oh my lord. What Marvel series was on Netflix and got canceled?
Oh,
There's
I
a few
don't
of
know.
them. Oh lord,
I
my
don't
brain.
know.
Anyway, they're relaunching a bunch of those shows now back on on the whole Disney Plus side of things.
What
But they're
we
telling
need
better
is
stories, like you were saying.
what we need is something groundbreaking, like say the first Matrix was, or Back to the Future, weird science kind of thing, where it's maybe it's not even like a straight like science fiction drama or anything. Like maybe it's a science fiction comedy or something that's groundbreaking that nobody has seen before, but it's just kind of like its own standalone thing, right? It's not the making of a franchise or whatever. It's just a movie.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's part of what goes wrong with these sort of things is, I mean, when Disney acquires a title, they acquire it with the idea that this is, I mean, they think about stories a little bit like a mutual fund would, which is to say that they want to protect their capital investment more than they want to break new ground or do something that, and the thing is, in terms of storytelling, what makes a story valuable is that it does break new ground, is that it does take risks, is that it does say things that are potentially uncomfortable to listen to, that make you think about things that you're experiencing in your life in a different way, in a way that might be challenging. That's where the real value of storytelling, gets ignored in favor of, well, people recognize the brand. And I got to say, as somebody that's worked as a program director at an independent movie theater, I can tell you, if there isn't public awareness of a thing, they're not going to show up for it. So I understand the impulse to try to ride a brand as far as you can, because at least people know what it is. But that's not what makes storytelling valuable, and it's not the role that it should play in making the world somewhere that
Just like this comment here about Event Horizon being a film that broke ground on how dark space travel could be. I would make the argument that the first 3 Alien films, each of them kept going, even kept introducing new ideas in different ways. We had Alien, which was amazing, Aliens, which was amazing, but in a different way. And Alien 3 is sort of shit upon quite regularly because it is kind of weak. But the fact is that it did introduce a completely different idea. They were in a spaceship. They were, in a like I want to say a residential neighborhood, but on a planet, the same planet and whatnot. But this was the first time where you had Alien 3 had a completely different environment. It was like a lead works or whatever the heck it was for creating stuff for spaceships. And then the alien in that film came out of an animal, not a human. So it acted differently. They actually make comments about how that alien was different somehow, and it behaved differently and did different things. So as poor of a film as it was, or not as great of a film as it could have been, it did have a lot of that reinventing. Okay, well, we can't be on a spaceship again. We can't be at a facility that's breeding these things. We have to do it somewhere else. And let's only have one of them. We can't have 100. Let's have one.
What's sort of messed up is that Alien 3 started with a William Gibson script.
Well, exactly. I mean, that was another thing too, is that it got rewritten like 10 times.
Eventually, a lot of the elements of it, if you've read it, actually end up in I think it was the follow-on. It was the 4th one, which
I've actually never seen.
Directed by
Jean
Perrault, who I normally like. They're the people who did City of Lost Children and Delicatessen, right? So with directors like that and stuff pulled from a William Gibson script because I like William Gibson. I would expect to have loved that movie. And for that matter, I kind of have the hots for Winona Ryder, and she was in it. And yet somehow, God, I think what I found unwatchable about that film was that there was the believability factor died every time I saw one of those computer animated aliens.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with the whole. I mean, just to talk about Alien a bit more, as here about being dark, gritty and dark, and no one is, But the nice thing about the Alien thing is that if you actually have watched somebody play or have played a game called Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation.
That had much better computer animation, incidentally, than
exactly, yeah. And then that game really portrays a very interesting idea of how to take what's already been done and make it slightly different, but also it's and not focus on the aliens so much, but focus on what else is going on.
Well, this is but back to Event Horizon for a moment, because somebody brought that up. Event Horizon. One of the things I liked about that film was that it wasn't that there was a villain as such. It was playing with the threshold of space and time leads us to a place where our uncertainties manifest themselves in diabolical ways, and that's almost it's got shades of a Faustian kind of a discussion, which is something that I don't think I've seen recently in film.
Yeah, see that totally.
I mean, like the idea.
A lot of that kind of pops up in sort of low budget space sort of opera films, where that you see them once, you don't remember the titles, but there's always an idea that kind of lurks in the back of your mind about, oh yeah, I kind of like that, about how they did that. It wasn't executed great, but I mean, it's like watching a Leprechaun film. They're pretty bad and terrible, but have some interesting.
Terrible in a very good way, though. Admittedly.
Yeah. Well, same for
it's sort of like watching Ghoulies,
Exactly. Jason 10 in space or whatever it was. Really terrible films. What's really funny is that a lot of those films, I actually was surprised that a whole bunch of those Jason films back in the day were actually filmed in Vancouver, and yeah, he is. Thanks, Mark, for judging us quite harshly. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
BattleTech.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
seriously, if you ever looked at the game, you know how deep it is. We're talking like fucking Game of Thrones level, political stuff going on. I mean, the technology is amazing. Like Shane was talking about, just seeing something that's going to be popcorn fun.
Yeah,
it doesn't get much more popcorn fun than seeing a bunch of monster ass robots beat the shit out of each other and blow each other up like constantly. So, I mean, you got that to score.
Yeah.
So, but it's seriously Game of Thrones level depth to all the stuff going on in the background.
You need to watch a movie called Robot Jocks. And Jocks is spelled J-O-X.
It sounds terrible.
It is.
Well,
it is.
Well, but that's what's going to happen in Ukraine. That is what everybody's really preparing for. Is that what will really happen? Is there will be a Ukrainian robot and there will be a Russian robot. Those two robots.
Hey!
Ukrainian robot will have the power of sending Easter egg shaped missiles that fly off and blow up in ways that an Easter egg would do. And then the Russian robot will be able to transform into a Russian doll. Like pop, its top will pop open, and another robot will jump out, and then it'll have two robots.
Putin says he's going to get in this thing and he's going to kick your ass.
He is.
Well, you could never really replace. I mean, if you haven't seen Robot Jocks, you really have to, because, it's one of those films that
I haven't seen it since like 1989, so I don't know if it's really held up, but
I'm sure it hasn't. But it's got a script that is worth it, and you just know that if they were ever to watch the Crafty Boys, that Robots and Jocks would give us double thumbs up, because that's just the way that
look at the
Robot
RCA
Jocks.
plugs.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the RCA plugs.
That is correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just know that Robot Jocks is going to. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. The best thing about it is that it was made just before that sort of shift into CGI was happening. So these robot battles and things are all either in miniature. There's some very minor
it's
stop
practical
motion.
effects.
So it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it. And is the script amazing? No, not really. But basically, what is it? We had this ridiculous thing where we started
the
trading
Cold War,
land for the Cold War, exactly.
Yeah. That
By the way,
Reveal-
useless fact of the night.
that is apparently over.
Yep, there you go. BattleTech. Actually, I haven't played the game BattleTech for a very long time. I remember having to eject all the time, but there was.
That's actually a touch that I would like to see more of. I truthfully, in terms of our interaction with software, it's all gotten a bit lame in that everything is a mouse pad now.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Having interesting controllers. I mean, given what we can do with the software, just playing with how we interact with it could be a lot of fun. It's a missed opportunity, and something that in an age where most stuff is downloadable, therefore piratable, therefore it's questionable whether anybody would ever pay for it. There you've got something that you can actually sell, that's an actual thing that you can leave under the Christmas tree, instead of a little card or trinket saying that you can now download blank or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like there's fun to be had there that I think merchandisers, gamers, everybody wins if they start exploring that territory a little better. Obviously, you don't want to do it so that you're creating more shit to float around in the middle of the ocean when you throw it out. But still.
Yeah, I have no argument with that at all. You were gonna
Well,
say,
apparently back in the day with BattleTech 2,
Yeah.
not BattleTech 2, but BattleTech. This is, I think it was in the 90s. I heard about this in the US, that a few BattleTech centers, and apparently they were full-on simulators, and you literally had to take lessons because there was 100 controls in these simulators. And I always wanted to go, but they're probably dead now.
Where was this?
Throughout the States. I think I heard the closest one to us was Seattle or something. But you could go to these places and get into it and have battles in these things. And but yeah, you had to take lessons, otherwise you couldn't run them, because you just wouldn't know what you were doing, because there were so many control surfaces that you could play with that you had to learn what you were doing first. But
yeah, I mean, you could hurt yourself with stuff like that. I mean, there's just no. I mean, it's so. Yes, we are all Canadians. Welcome. Across almost the entire country, as a matter of fact. Back to your talk about the simulator stuff, about actually having to learn how to play these things. I mean, I picture Dave doing that with, hopping in. But Dave, I have one request. that if we ever get to do this simulation thing again, for BattleTech stuff, you have to get in and say it's clobbering time. You gotta get in there.
Clobbering time.
This character on the screen right now is Tex, I believe, from Robot Jocks, and
Yeah.
that's the one
Done.
line that I always have in the back of my mind is clobbering time. But yeah, aside from the I'm gonna get in this thing and kick your ass, but yeah,
I think it's a line from The Thing. I think that was his line.
Huh?
It's
The
clobbering time.
Thing from Fantastic Four. Isn't that
Really?
Isn't that one of his lines?
Oh, should I? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I thought you were going John Carpenter, and then I realized it was more.
Yeah, I know, totally. I was like, that's what I was thinking. It was like the Thing movie was from John Carpenter, but
No.
I'm always up for
Marvel.
Carpenter. Yeah, I could do with a little less Marvel and DC these days.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've had. I think in terms of that, we've had too much of a good thing. I think we need a little break in between for other stuff to come out. I mean, to like LSAT was saying, we have a whole bunch of. There needs to be opportunities for new stuff to break through, and
you know what
and
we
come out
need?
and
We need to see in the theaters a director's cut of the Cannonball Run, just to bring it right back to the beginning of the show.
what was that character's name? Captain Chaos. Captain Chaos. That was the
Oh,
Dom
yes.
DeLuise character that was in that film.
Dun dun dun. Oh God. Yeah. One other thing that I shouldn't be bringing it up now. I sort of missed my opportunity, but I have to say, really, one thing that I could make exception to as something that needs to be fixed about the Mandalorian or the Book of Boba Fett is the Dumpty Tumty song. Fuck's sake, no! Stop that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The Dumpty
No,
Dumpty
either.
Dum song.
Which song is that?
Dumpty Tumty
Oh,
Tum.
that song. Okay, yeah, I didn't realize that was what it was. That's
Oh
what you
God,
call it.
it's horrible. For a franchise that started with John Williams, masterful fucking orchestral. Stop that.
Okay.
I approve.
Oh,
Anyway.
Greta.
Greta's so happy about us. But we've actually been going for like way over an hour now. But we will, of course, be back next Wednesday
Yes,
at
we'll
the
do
same
that.
time, about 9 o'clock Pacific Standard, because that's how we roll. And you, of course, have been watching, and we thank you for coming by and checking us out, and especially Julian, as always. And
Yeah.
of course, LSAT here is like, I'm sorry, I keep calling him LSAT just because that strikes me as funny. But the Cannonball Run, I think we need to we should totally do that. I would love to do that as like a live stream watching show or something.
Oh God,
But
yeah.
thank you for coming out. And next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard. And we, of course, are online we have a Twitter account and all that kind of fun stuff. Don't forget to tell people about the show, because it's just a bunch of dudes hanging around drinking beer, talking about crap. So if you like that kind of stuff, tell people to come and join in. But otherwise, as always, Alan, take us out. How does this show end? How do we get out of this thing? How do we